Hey, it's Mitch from Pencil Kings, and I help artists create income streams. And today we're going to take a little bit of a different direction. What do you do if you're broke? So, not too long ago, I was in the very uncomfortable situation where I was not paying myself very much. I run my own business, I should be in control of everything, but somehow things kind of just got away from me, and I wasn't even making anywhere near the amount of money that I was making when I used to work in a studio. In fact, I know that I would have made more money had I just gone and got a job at Starbucks or pretty much anywhere else. And this is one of the traps that you can run into. And one of the things that I worry about people when they tell me, I'm going to become a freelancer, I'm going to do this thing on my own. It's not necessarily as easy as it seems to be. For all the people that you see being successful with things, there's a lot of people that fail. And some of those people who look like they're successful, once you know the story behind the scenes, you see that not everything is quite as true as you originally thought. But let's take this back to your situation and imagine that if you're not broke right now, you could look at this video as sort of the how to turn things around when you find yourself back in that situation. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to assume here is that you have some kind of steady income happening. Doesn't have to be a full-time income, but just something that you can depend on. And if you don't have this, like if your money coming in is very sporadic, it's all over the place, some days you're getting paid, other weeks you're not getting paid, this is a very big problem. And this is, I think, the first thing that you should be looking at solving, even if it means taking a non-art job, because probably the reason why your income is so unstable in the first place is because you're trying to go creative too quickly before you have some of the other pieces in place that you're going to need in order to have stability with the creative thing that you want to do. And there's no shame in taking that other job to get stable while you're building on your dream. Hey, I've been there. I had a point. For me, my low point was working as a line cook, and I mean, it wasn't even that bad of a job. It was pretty fun for the most part, but once I was then able to go and get an illustration and magazine layout job, I quickly jumped ship. So step one, or first step, or kind of like baseline, is make sure that you have some kind of stable income that you can depend on. This is key. And if you don't have that, just write that down. That's the first thing that you need to focus on, is finding some way, some kind of part-time job or something full-time that you can get some stability happening. Okay, step number 2 is cutting your expenses. For whatever reason, I've always been very good at keeping my expenses low, although over time what I found is that it is very easy for your expenses to creep up. And the reason why I'm saying this is that I was, again, in that situation where I had let things kind of just pile up. And even though I wasn't using them, I was still paying for them every single month. And I kind of had that thought that, it's $10. $10, it's not that big of a deal. But the problem is that maybe I had 10 different services that were all costing me $10 per month, all those adding up together. Now I'm at $100, and with that $100, I could actually do a lot of things, which I'm going to get to in a second. But let's just take a little bit more time talking about these expenses, because it's not fun at all, or at least, I don't know, maybe I'm weird, and you can let me know in the comments if you're the same way, because for me, when I first started dealing and thinking about this finance stuff, even the word finance makes me not want to do it. I just feel like in my core as an artist, I want to make stuff. I don't want to worry about the management of it. I just want to make it. And so, yeah, I preferred to turn a blind eye to the stuff and thought I was doing okay. But then when I actually sat and went through it, then I started to realize, oh, okay, wow, there's actually like quite a bit more money here than I had originally thought. I'm going to do something about this. All right. So what I recommend that you do, if you're more digitally organized, you can go to your bank and print out statements. And I would recommend printing out the entire last year. Get all your statements. This might be the first time that you've ever heard the concept or had to log into your bank account and look, even try to find, where do you get your statements? Because that's where I was at. And so I know that there's somebody else that's like me that was in such bad shape. But trust me, just take the time, go and do this and find a way to like print them out. Sometimes you can get them printed out to a spreadsheet, which again, I'll do another video on spreadsheets for artists, because I think that's another stumbling block that When I learned how to use spreadsheets, life got a whole lot easier. But whatever it is, you basically need a big, long list, and you need to find a way to visualize that. So for some of you, that's printing it out. For some of you, that's some kind of way displaying it on the computer. But you want that, and then I did mine when I was doing it digitally. So I'm going to say at least two colors of highlighters or something, or two different ways to delineate the different lines. So when I'm saying delineate, basically like one could be a plus, one could be a minus, or one could be a star. So those could be your three ways if you don't have a highlighter handy or anything like that. Like, I don't want you to have to stop what you're doing and go to the store. Like, no, that's not what we're talking about here. You could just like sit down, like finish this video, sit down and make this happen right now. And this is going to be like a major step to getting you from wearing that broke hat and taking it off, so you could look at finding some other hat that's more fun to wear than the broke hat. Okay, so once you've got this stuff printed out, I want you to look line by line and just see what expenses you could let go of without it impacting your lifestyle at all. And I think this is key, because if we start to think about cutting expenses and things that we enjoy, like, oh, well, I really like going to my favorite restaurant, that's totally fine. I'm not saying to cut that. What I'm saying is things that you don't use anymore. So maybe you have like a gym pass that you're not even going to the gym. All right, well, that gets like put a star beside that or highlighted or whatever you want to do. And the reason why I said use two colors, one color is like for sure get rid of this right away, and another one is like I probably should get rid of this, because we just want to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room here in case there's some things that we're maybe emotionally not ready to let go of yet. But there'll definitely be things that are just, get rid of these right now. I'm not using it anymore. This doesn't serve me. Or it was just, maybe it was a bad expense right off the bat. So go through your list, highlight or mark everything, and then make a shorter list of things that you can get rid of right away, and then total up how much that is going to save you each month. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the idea of saving, because for me, I had to change it, and so I think it will be helpful. So write it out and see what that is, and then make a plan that this week, before the week is done, that you will take care of this and post it and make it happen. Because it's not just that it's costing you each month, it's costing you like times 12 for the year, and then every single year it's costing you that. And we want to use that money in more productive ways. All right, so as you're doing this, you might realize that there are certain things that don't just happen monthly. They might be quarterly expenses, like every third month you get billed for it, or once a year you get billed for it. Don't let those things slide. Like if it's a once a year $200 expense, I just got charged one about 2 weeks ago. It's for an online learning service that I don't use anymore. It charges me $200 a year, and I always get dinged for it in September, thinking that I'm going to get billed in October. I'm going to take my own advice and make a note of that, but I want you to note all those things that you need to get in check and total up the amount of money. Okay, so once you have that list, I want you to total it up and see what that adds up to on a month-by-month basis, because this is going to give you some room that you can now just reallocate that money. You weren't really missing it before. Like you were broke, or you are broke, and okay, that's fine. But now that you've cut those expenses, it doesn't mean like, woo, I've got more money for more stuff. Don't use this money for stuff. You don't need more stuff. Stuff is what keeps us broke. What you can use that money for is to invest in yourself. And this is what I'm really advocating, that you take that money, whatever that number is, it's going to be different for everybody. For some people, it might be $5. For some people, it might be $500. For some, it might be $5,000. I don't know. It's hard to imagine cutting $5,000 of expenses and being broke. You're just on another level that I'm familiar with. But whatever that number is, now you have a budget that you can use to invest in yourself. And I want you to think of it, instead of, like I was talking about before, buying stuff, as investing in yourself, which is totally new. So for example, I invested in a camera that I was able to afford because I was saving money, and I'm going to now use this camera to make videos that ideally will help me make money. For you, I don't know what you want to invest in, but you could invest in courses that now help you to make more money, or you could invest in courses that help you develop the skills, although make sure that you're learning the right skills and not just like counting courses as more stuff, things that's just going to add clutter to your life. You want to be very selective. Or it's totally okay to just put that money on the side. And maybe you have a checking account and a savings account. It's totally okay to just every month, like let's say because you cut out some expenses, or maybe you started piggybacking on certain payment plans for things with family members or whatever it is. You start to save some money and you start to have more funds available. It's totally okay to just put that money away and not know what it's going to be there for. Because let's say it's, again, $100 a month, you start putting it away. $100, $200, $300. After 5 months, now you have $500. And now, I mean, you could buy an amazing camera, or there's all kinds of things that you could buy advertising for your services, or you could hire someone to professionally design a website for you. There's lots of things that you could do with that money once you allow it to just accumulate. So I want to say that that's one entirely fine way that you can use the money. The other one is that you could use that money that you're now saving to start paying down any debt. So if you're paying off credit cards or something else, which is actually costing you money to owe that money to somebody else, go ahead and just use those savings and pay down that debt faster and get rid of that debt as quickly as you can. There's no shame in doing that. And these are all things that are going to help you get past that stage of being broke. And so you can start to turn the tide for yourself and start to be more responsible with your money. I know for a long time, I just turned a blind eye and thought that everything would work out and that I'm really smart and that I'm good and I'm winning the game of life. But when I looked at my bank account, I clearly saw that I was not winning the game of life. And it really was a few small changes that were needed in order to get on that right track and to start giving myself the confidence that I needed for things to start compound and for wins to start happening. And so really, if you are broke, just give this video a second watch. If anything is not clear, like if you don't know what to do right now, then you missed what I was talking about, I think about 3 minutes ago, but I'm going to say it again for you right here. Go through your bank statements line by line. Figure out a way to print them out or visualize them on the computer. Go through them line by line. Figure out all the expenses that you can cut out, that you don't need, that you're not using anymore, that aren't bringing you joy. And then instead of taking that, whatever that money amounts to, instead of taking that money and just buying more stuff or things that are just going to waste, use that money to invest in yourself and start to think about spending money as in, like, are you just letting that money go, or are you investing in a better version of yourself for the future? And when you can start to have this mindset of investment, amazing things are going to start to happen for you. And it's going to be very slow at first, but things will start to pick up speed and you're going to start to get going faster and faster. I'm going to be talking more about my own journey doing this stuff because it's really fun once it starts. And just to quickly give you a little idea of what I did with this personally was that once I figured out in my personal life some money that I wasn't spending in a positive way, and I was able to carve out a little tiny budget, I started to invest. And there's lots of information that you can read about investing. I'm not an investment advisor or anything like that, but there's lots of information about investing for millennials, and it's super easy to do. It doesn't require a lot of money or a lot of stress or learning or anything. But anyway, I took that $100 per month and just started like putting it away. It wasn't very much, but over time that snowball has started to build. And now it's something it's like fun and exciting, where if you told me, I think it was about 3 years ago that I started doing this, and actually had a good friend who he forced me to do this because he just said, Mitch, look, you're a sharp guy. Why don't you start taking the actions of a sharp person and start doing a little bit of investing? So that's what I did personally. For you, first step, if you're broke, is just cutting out those expenses and then figuring out what you're going to do to invest in yourself. You might already know, and you might need a little bit of time to figure out what that thing is. That's totally fine as well. I hope this advice spurs you into action and that you're on, taking the first step in a whole new direction. All right, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.